sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
I just choked down chocolate chip cookies and Grandpa's femur. Femur.
We make money now?
No, we had to pay
So
them.
this episode, it's just too slippery. I'm slicing everything.
Every time I swing my 5-iron, it goes up that guy's ass.
Welcome to the Sad Dads Club podcast. Here's your host, Jim and Foo.
Well, welcome to the Sad Dads Club podcast. I'm Jim.
I'm the Foo.
We got a special guest today. We're excited about this.
Yeah. I was nervous right up until he gave you shit and talking, and then it was like, nah, we're good. Plus he brought food. But, all right.
Plus he brought food.
Episode 90, and you're totally overplaying your intro. But
no,
man,
we got the CEO of AJ Video Systems. He's a career video professional. He's a fast boat guy. And we'll talk about that, I think. Okay. He's the only guy I know who either wears a suit or board shorts and a T-shirt. I mean, literally, that's all I've ever seen him in. I mean, this is pretty much it right here.
This is what you get.
It's comfy. I mean,
Yeah.
aren't we?
He's a fan of the Sad Dads Club podcast. I can never say that right.
You blew it.
And he's an all-around good guy who can fire me just for looking at him a little bit cross-eyed. You know, he's like, what kind of a thing. But he's also my boss, Dave Sampson. And we're so happy that you're here. And this was like a kind of a long time. We've been talking about this for a while, so I'm glad you're here.
Well, thanks, man. I don't know about the whole firing thing. It doesn't really work that way.
He sent me a thing because I was like, I'm like, are you coming early? Because I don't want to. It's going to be weird if the CEO shows up and I'm like standing out here with the garage door open, like, hi,
scratching your belly and drinking a beer.
So anyway, your employee is not here yet, and so he sent me. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I'm on my way. I'm like, yeah, I'm already here chatting with CEO of your company. We're talking about your tardiness. And
that
I'm
was
like, just kidding. And then you both rolled up at the same time.
Serious conversation, Jim.
Yeah.
Do we? Yeah, I know.
Serious.
I know. I'm the worst. So this is exciting. I remember we were at a show, I think it was 2018. It was pretty much right after we started this podcast, and we started in like October or something.
Yes.
And so that was April. So we'd only done it for a few months, and I remember telling you at the show,
right, we
have a podcast, and you were like, oh, really? And you started listening.
I did. I'm about 75% out of 100 of your fan base. So I've hit about 3/4 of the shows.
Well, that's good. I mean, that, we're happy about that.
Is better than none.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah.
I intentionally listen, and look, I've had a blast. By the way, thanks.
Yeah.
You guys have been the source of endless entertainment while I've been on the road.
Awesome.
No, it's been great, right?
Cool.
Like, some of this, like I remember the car crash story.
Oh, yeah.
The Ben
fucking
Gay
redneck
story.
Yes.
Yeah, GTCFs. Green tooth cousin fuckers.
Yeah.
There you go. Redneck. Sorry. I would start right out swearing. Right.
That's who hit my Cadillac.
That's not good.
That's who hit my Cadillac like a couple
He's
months ago.
one of them 1%ers. We're going to take out the caddy.
Oh.
Or that one guy, and for you guys to come over here. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I use the show to while away the hours when I drive to Los Angeles. Right. I've got a house in LA that I rent. Yeah. And I drive back and forth, and I've got some hobby stuff going on down there with the boat thing.
Yeah.
And, pretty much when I leave, I tune you guys in. I listen to one of you, then one of somebody else, then one of you, then one of somebody else. And I usually get about 5 or 6 of them in each trip. Yeah,
nice.
That's good. No, thanks.
Well, let's talk about that boat hobby, because you mentioned this before, and I swear you told me, and maybe I'm wrong, that you were a part owner of a boat modification thing, like performance thing?
Part owner of a manufacturing company. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, basically started out as helping out a friend and,
And what kind of manufacturing are we talking about?
Speedboats.
Oh, wow.
So you actually make the full boat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much. It starts from a drum of resin and it goes from there. Really.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's when it's funny because you watch all these reality shows, right? Where like the chopper shows are funny. Like, it's a custom bike. Well, on Monday the frame shows up. On Tuesday the engine shows up. Wednesday a tank shows up. On Thursday the forks show. It's like
Orange County choppers, right? I mean, that's what I.
Yeah, it's like they don't actually make much of anything. Right. This is there's molds in a yard, and you start with a drum of resin and rolls of fiberglass and go through the process, and you end up with a boat, right? And it's
so are these like your own design holes and that kind of thing, or
they're that company's the company that I'm part of it. They've designed them in house.
Oh,
and the company's been in continuous business since I think it's 1952.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So you're partner in that now, or
I'm a minority partner in it.
yeah.
Right? Like I go to trade shows and have fun and spend a little money every now and then and pick up a bill every now and then and get a deal on storage and boat service. Right.
Well, I mean, that's cool, though. But that means you probably end up with really well done performance boat, I would assume.
Yeah.
You probably get like all the good shit.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Well, you guys know how it is, right? Like, that's a really cool car. Like some guys.
Yeah.
I lived in LA for 30 years, so buying a fast car, there was no point to a fast car.
Right.
Yeah.
So and
Hurry up and wait.
Yeah. Well, where are you going to go with it? Right.
Yeah.
It's
Inching around.
It's going to take an hour to get to someplace to drive to have fun with it, or I could drive 20 minutes to Marina Del Rey and get in the ocean and go as fast as the machinery allows.
Right.
Right. So there's this ability with a boat to. It's one of the last things where a guy can go and really push a piece of high-end machinery and not be looking over your shoulder at the cops all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I saw
that is an amazing perspective on it.
I mean, speaking of that, I saw on your Facebook account there was a picture, and I don't know where you were in this picture, but it was two boats. It was actually a video hauling ass, but from Catalina, and I assumed to maybe Long Beach or something. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But you guys were, you guys were smoking.
Yeah, no, we're moving. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. And were you in the boat being recorded, or in the boat that was doing the recording?
I was in the boat being recorded.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That was me passing my buddy. Right.
Oh
that's
my gosh.
As soon as you know the camera's on you, you got to lay into it. And,
you guys were hauling ass.
We were
man.
moving out. We were probably going. I think I remember that clip. I think we were going about 80.
Oh my gosh!
In the ocean.
In the ocean.
Because we talk about the independence that I feel, like the temple, like being in a place tied to a machine that makes you. There's like a visceral feeling.
Yep.
Like the whole lockdown thing, affording some people who are getting like way out of spec, but they're less people on the road being able to just go out and do your thing.
Yeah.
For Mike, who's been here a couple times, obviously. It's on the bike. It's like a way to just unwind. If you're that kind of person, whether it's boats, planes, helicopters, cars, or just wrenching.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever thought about boating in that perspective as
I think
one of the last bastion places where if you get out into the open, there's no one there that's going to bust your balls about your speed, and it's on you to respect the water, to respect your machine, and to respect your ability to control
and know your
all
limits.
of that shit.
Yeah. You can run out of talent really quick.
Absolutely.
You can run out
and
of
it's
talent.
not the same, too, as... and I wonder if it's how I hadn't ever thought about that. Because, if I go over to Clementine when I was younger in the 20s and to wakeboard, or even here slightly older when I had my wakeboard boat, over to Folsom, the Rangers, they're on top of you. And even the older guys when I was in my young buck 20s, the guys with the rooster tails and the pickle forks that are just hogging ass, right? You're eventually, even at Folsom, the state park shit, you're gonna get
tampered down.
You're gonna get asked to take it down.
Yeah.
But if you're saltwater, and it's
it's on.
How independent do you want to feel?
Yeah.
And that's amazing. And I can only imagine it feels like when there's a clear stretch of tarmac and me in a car, that feels the same way for you.
Well, and so just looking at what you guys drive and listening, right? You guys know acceleration
absolutely.
and speed, right?
Yeah.
And it never gets old.
Yeah.
Acceleration and speed and performance and the sound of a 700 horse V10 singing at 6K. That stuff never
Absolutely.
gets old, right?
Absolutely.
It just gets
And the wind in your hair.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because he sent me a couple pictures of you of with the boats,
I think
and I was
one of
gonna
them-
ask wakeboard questions, and now listening, I'm like, fuck no, Dave is
no.
the guy that's like
Pow!
and feeling
Well, so
feeling the engine kind of shit.
So so like some guys get cars. Some guys, like a business guy that owns a business that's been sort of successful. He might buy a plane, and I did some of that when I was younger. I had a glider's license when I was young, and one of my father figures worked at a metal company and restored or worked on World War II fighter planes. So I've done.
That's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
totally cool. So all that kind of stuff is all the same on some level, but it's not, right? So
Right.
when you're on the street or when you're on a like I've been searching for the street bike rush since I had a wicked accident and kind of stopped riding, which I think everybody gets to that point. I rode dirt bikes, since I was 6 years old and up, and with the boats, it's a lot like any other sport, right? I've got one that's 20 feet long that's kind of like a 911 turbo, and then I've got one that's bigger, kind of like an Escalade with a blower on it, right? So you take the big boat in a small lake doesn't feel real good or even smart, but the little one feels great. But you're talking about a device that's got 700 horsepower, 800 foot-pounds of torque in a hull that weighs 2,200 pounds.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it'll really wake you up, right?
Right.
And there's no safety gear.
Yeah.
There's no helmet. There's no
Yeah.
seat belts. There's there's none of that stuff.
Yeah.
There's none of that stuff. So it's a real rush. It's a lot of fun. So I kind of got into that because I had a little bit of extra money at a few points in my life and invested in a hull, and then kind of grew it and made it cooler and cooler, and put a new interior in it, put a bigger motor in it, put a bigger drive in it.
Yeah.
And boats are such a diminishing point of return.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Right.
So when you think about to make a boat go 100 miles an hour, right? Like my little boat will go 100, right?
Yeah.
It's got 725 horsepower and 800 foot-pounds. so how fast would a car that has 700 horsepower go?
Well, you're not rolling seat belts.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, because that's just fucking dangerous in a boat.
Yeah, you don't want to be. Yeah,
You don't want to be strapped in if you're upside down or some shit.
No.
Wow. I mean, you think about. I mean, I always think about. There's a clip I remember seeing on the internet of. It was like a video shot from the bow, and it was going back towards all the people, and they're all standing up in the boat, and it's open, and the boat just
Bunch of
gets
chicks in there.
Yeah, the chicks and the people just fly.
Oh, that guy did.
And like
that was such an awful. That guy.
Yeah.
We've all watched.
have you
it.
seen
Yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
watched that.
that's what I think of, and how I mean, if you're
He like catches
Not
a
doing it
wake or
right.
something and
Yeah.
bang, offset.
You get
bang, bang.
You get a big boat sideways like he did.
Yeah.
Okay, and it grabs the chines, grab the water.
Yeah.
The boat stops and everybody keeps going. And
Yeah.
like that guy, like you saw that guy's crowd. He had
yeah.
beautiful people on.
Yeah.
that boat.
Oh yeah.
And everybody wanted to have like. How could you have a better day than that? You've got a boat filled with
Your friends.
multitudinous pulchritude.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Right?
The
And,
top specimens.
Yeah.
and the net as you send everybody to the hospital.
Yeah.
So like, what an awful way to.
Yeah. Everyone's getting dental work.
Oh damn! I hadn't considered that. That's
That guy put pretty much all those people in the hospital. Yeah, he completely ran out of talent. But
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like,
not unlike this podcast.
What? Shit.
just
Fuck you.
well,
I'm full.
the other thing with a boat, like, so you take you take that RS and you go to Willow Springs, right? That track is pretty much the same every lap,
Yeah.
right? You get out in the water, it's never the same.
Yep.
You
Oh
get on
yeah.
the same day.
Yeah.
You go,
Yeah.
It's different every. So what you can do, at 8 in the morning is not what you can do at
Oh,
noon
yeah.
and 1 and
Yeah.
2, and if you go out and you can get yourself in all kinds of trouble if you just mash it to the wall.
Oh,
and
yeah.
hope for the best.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive stuff.
It was because we've talked about you having the skateboard as a pastime, but
Yeah.
I can't remember. You didn't do much wakeboarding.
You know what's funny about boating stuff is
Yeah.
my parents growing up had boats, and when I was little, they were competition slalom skiers. They had a competition boat that matched the car that towed it.
Sweet.
I mean,
Yeah, what?
they were full on. They had. I remember in the garage, even when we moved up to Sacramento, they had their skis. Their slalom skis were all like up in the garage.
Really?
And it was like they just never used them again. All the boats like went away when we were younger. And there's pictures of us like at the lake with like Budweiser cans, like drinking and standing in the diaper or whatever. And I don't know what happened. They all just like went away. So I never had that culture growing up because it was gone. I think maybe they were, I don't know, like bracing for the kids or something. Financially, I have no idea.
Well, and it gets hard, right? It's not like a car where you can go out in your driveway and flip the key in and go for a spin. You've got to take a deliberate trip to go.
Oh, that was the bulk of the reason why we ended up selling. I mean, God, it was a really nice, but it was a wakeboard boat. It had a specific function.
Yeah.
And as soon as we had Piper, it was, it's not an instant on. It is, well, we got to hook up the Durango, and then we've got to take it over to Folsom, and then we've got to unhitch it, and then everyone's got to get in it. And did we get gas? If I could gas, and
do I have all the stuff for the
and
baby?
And then you ride it around for 30 minutes because not everyone's been in shape either, so everyone's fucking sore. So, and then you bring it back, and it's 4 hours. And it's like I got 20 minutes of activity time.
Yeah.
And now you start factoring in diapers and kids and and it's like, well, I was going to do it this weekend. But now I can't because kid's sick, wife's sick. No, I've got no one else to raise the flag when I'm out.
And it cost me this much for gas for the day, and this much to get into the lake, and this much.
It's an all-in pastime for sure.
And as you start to go fast, right, everything becomes about that next weak point in the chain, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this particular form of propulsion doesn't like anything above 500 horse, or this particular form of propulsion doesn't like to steer if the boat goes faster than 80. So then you got to start spending this money, and then it becomes like owning a plane. You go, all right, well, okay, so I'm going to get about 100 hours out of this drive, and it's going to be 10 grand. Right? So as you go up in the performance, you get these wear points where it becomes like owning a plane. You're like, okay, well, I've got 80 hours on this drive, so it's probably going to pop on this trip if I get on it too hard.
Yeah.
So then it becomes an avoidance thing. So a lot of that stuff just sits in the garage a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So did you bring boats up with you when you?
Yeah, I've got them both up with me now.
Oh, okay.
So I got one kind of fits in the garage, and the other one's parked in the driveway.
Where do you go to put it in the water?
Well,
up here.
That's the thing. I've only been to a couple of these small lakes in the last, I've started at AJA in 2011, so I've only been up here a couple times. I brought it
so
up.
you haven't been out since you've been up?
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Wow, that's surprising. I mean, there's lots of lakes.
Well,
around.
not because up until the last couple of years, the lakes and reservoirs have been so fucking low.
True.
I wouldn't want to necessarily put a fucking boat in the water either. You're going to run across some unknown island. I mean, it wasn't until last year or the year before where Folsom was decent, where even I would be like, I'm going to go take a $100,000 investment into the water, having never been here before.
Let me put it to you this way. Folsom Lake was so low, you could go to, is it Beals Point?
Beals Point.
You could go to Beals Point and hike down in front of the dam and stand up and look at the dam, and it was basically just a trickle of a river into the bottom of the dam. That's how low the lake was.
Yeah.
So you brought the small one up.
No, I've got them both.
Oh, okay.
I've got them both. But right, so like I got this new gig in last fall.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
No.
Well, I've been with the company since 2011, right? So
yeah.
So it's been, what do those Japanese guys call it? So I've heard them call it Rochambeau. I've also heard this rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the thing where they kick each other in the balls until one guy dies.
Oh, that's fun.
That's what it's been like since I started the new game.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
welcome to the show, Dave.
I mean, I know we've been talking about boats, but this is something that we wanted to talk to you about a little bit. Was you pretty much, you were director of sales and marketing, or VP of sales and marketing?
Yeah, VP of sales and marketing. VP of sales.
And then got hired on as CEO in, it was the end of last year-ish time, October-ish or something?
September, October, something like that,
And then right after that, it was like the gut punch of, here's the PG&E power shutoffs.
Oh, yeah.
And fuck you guys. and having to deal with that. And so you weathered that pretty well. And then it became, here's coronavirus fucking shutdown.
Well, don't forget the snow days.
Oh, shit.
We had a bunch
snow
of
days.
snow days.
Yeah. Well, we don't have those very often, which is interesting. But,
Of course you don't.
maybe one or two a year.
But Dave's here now, so let's give him a whole fucking extra.
Yeah, okay. So let's see. PG&E shutdowns. Then we have the snow days. Then the coronavirus. And then on top of that, all of the unrest happening with the rioting and shit. It has not been your tenure so far, but you've handled it very well.
Well, thanks.
I mean, honestly, I've been very impressed. I mean, we get pretty frequent email updating on what's going on with the company. It was really nice to be able to read that stuff. I think prior, and I'm not bagging on anybody, but prior it was sort of like you just didn't hear anything and you just kind of figured everything was going okay. But now we kind of like get an idea of how everything's happening, and I really like that.
Oh, thanks. That's those are really hard to write, by the way.
I bet.
Yeah. I was talking, so here, I'll do one better.
You're like, well, this is really shitty. I'm not putting that in there.
Yeah.
I can't tell the whole truth.
Redacted this. I was talking to some friends last night, and I was saying, working for who I work for versus who you guys are for.
Yeah.
I was telling some friends last night. I'm like, when I listened to Jim talk, especially how he had been talking about how you guys have approached COVID and the telecommuting and all of the net new shit that and wait, how adaptive the company has been. I said, having grown up in Nevada County, I said, so I'm a country boy at heart, like dirt in the soul kind of thing. I said, when I listen to him talk about how you guys have approached most of COVID, it reminds me, especially having gone to one of the NAB, having gone to one of the shows, and how people I had never met from AJA treated Jim's guest. I'm like, AJA, the company is a Nevada County company. It is like a country company still.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, so eventually you got to ask, like, they've approached the COVID stuff and the Black Lives Matter stuff. It's like, it still feels small, but yet I know full well, having Donna and whatnot and you broadcast stuff, you guys are like all over. You're global.
Yeah.
So
it's a global
it's nice to see from my hardened enterprise heart that there are still companies that are still treating the employees like and adapting. And we've talked a number of times how some of these people that we run into are just so agnostic of science and just like, why can't you be more empathetic of the people that you're hanging out with or that are strangers? It's like, wear the mask stuff or wash your hands stuff, and it's like, that's too much for me. That's a bridge too far.
I don't
and it's like, that. And then he talks about how his position didn't necessarily afford him any opportunity to take equipment home. And it's like, and I'm as a friend, I'm concerned for him. Like, what's your job security? Did I hear a beeping of a camera?
Something beeped.
Did a camera shut off?
No, you got that. We're good.
Good.
I think we're all running.
You're good.
Okay. I think it was just to interrupt you.
Where was this going? As his friend, I'm concerned of his job security, and he is telling me early on in the as this thing came to shit, it was with the equipment's expensive.
Yeah.
Test equipment.
Yeah,
test equipment's expensive. Like, how do I get this stuff home? And then to see, here we are at June 10th. He works from home. He gets his shit done, and you guys are cruising still. And it's awesome to see that there are still companies out there that can make the leap.
We're weathering it. We're weathering it better than most. We're actually weathering it better than most, I would say.
I think so.
I think we're doing pretty well. We found a way to get real flexible with
the
stuff we need to. And
And we had talked a number of times, like especially when it was because he gets real passionate about NAB. Having been there once.
Oh, I listened to that show.
I
can't believe we're not going to NAB.
I'm passionate about NAB. There was amazing stuff. And as a bottom rung content creator, the one time I went, it opened my eyes. Like, the green screen stuff and all the broadcast stuff that you guys do up there. We've got little cameras and mixers and all kinds
of shit.
It's a
candy store, man. It's a candy store.
Absolutely opened my eyes.
Yeah.
And then to see...
It's one of those things that I can tell him about, but until you go and see it, it's like it just...
Yeah, it's
mind-blowing.
it's like, well, it's a story. So to see how, where I work for had already started making adjustments, but a smaller company like you guys, relative to mine, was already like almost forecasting, like, this is a problem. We have employees that we need to take care of, and we need to be proactive in taking measures to make sure that we still have products to sell, we still have work to do, and people to sell it to. And you guys like pulled out early.
We were the first company to pull out.
Yeah. And I was like, see,
and that was
it doesn't take much to see writing on the wall.
Dude.
That was surprising.
that was really hard.
I imagine.
It was really hard. So like NAB, right? So you've been to the show. The scope of it's enormous. I think it's Vegas's second largest show after CES.
Yep.
Oh,
and So it's mostly for it's professional broadcasters, it's people in the industry, and of course people that make their way to the show. It is the benchmark by which our industry measures progress.
Okay,
so that's where all the new stuff comes out. That's where you announce what you're doing for the year. So basically, the way the industry works is you show it at NAB and you ship it by the next big show, which is in Amsterdam, called IBC.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of how the cycle of the industry works.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the cool stuff. It's coming. And then you hope, and everybody does their best to get it out by the next show. And then you go, yeah, it's shipping.
Or even preferably at the show that you announce it at.
And look,
and
that,
by the way,
well, and when everything works and you can do that, and part of being a global company is getting hardware products certified globally. Right. So you can build the product, you can have it finished, and you can ship it all out to the various testing agencies, but one testing agency won't even begin the test until another one finishes. And there's all kinds of stuff like that. So a lot of the challenge is, can you build it? Does it work? Can you get the thing built? Can you get it certified? So a lot of times you're waiting on certification before you can start shipping stuff. But yeah, in an ideal world, you go, here's this thing, you show it in front of your dealer network, and then there's a bunch of boxes, and you can start shipping right away.
Right.
But that's incredibly hard to do.
Yep, that is very hard to do.
But we went through while the whole COVID thing was coming down, we went, okay, so let's walk our way through this. All right, so this thing's bad. We've seen it coming from Asia for a while, and we know people are dying. It seems to affect people that are in their 50s, 60s, and the older you are, the worse it looks like it gets.
Right.
We don't know much, but we're finding cases here and there, and we're seeing this thing come, and we go, okay, so let's like whiteboard it out. We go to the show. A couple of us are going to get it because there's no way you can put 100,000 people together. I don't care how much Purell you got.
There's no way.
Right?
People coming from all over the world, no less.
Coming in from all over the world.
Yep.
And we whiteboard it out, and we go, some of us are going to get sick. We're going to bring it back. And based on what we knew at the time, 3 of us will die.
Right.
And we go,
that's probably not a good idea.
That's awesome.
Probably a better idea to just make a stand and go, we're not going to
It's not worth it.
Right.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. It's just another show. Yes, it's important. So then we made the decision we're going to announce to everybody that we're pulling out.
Yeah. So was there... I was wondering. I mean, I wasn't privy to any of this, but I assume there was probably some either you were, or probably both, I'm assuming, but you were probably given a lot of high praise for making that decision, or you were lambasted over the fact that, what the fuck are you doing pulling out of this major trade show?
So the deal is by and large the money's spent.
Right.
Okay, so you're not going to get back your half a rock for the booth. You're not going to get back a bunch of the hotel money, or you don't know.
Right.
Because it's never happened.
Right. Everything is unprecedented.
It's never happened.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
So you make the decision going, we don't think we're going to get anything back.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to make it knowing that, right? So then you say, all right, well, when do we make the call? Because if you're the first one to make the call, then all of a sudden everybody references you, as you saw, like AJA. So
right. I swear to God, we've talked about that.
But if you lead and no one else follows,
Yeah. Then you're
looking like
then
a
you're the
chump.
albatross. But yeah.
Well, no, then you just blew $1 million and got nothing for it.
And
Right.
You're looking like the chump.
You
Exactly.
look like the chump.
Yeah.
So there was a couple days where we're like, okay.
Nail biting. Is
Yeah.
someone else gonna
Is anyone-
come on? Anybody?
I know some of you aren't bitches either. Come on, pull the plug.
And then you look at the stuff online with people going, oh, they're blowing it out of proportion or making too big a deal about it. But we made the decision really out of the best interest of the people that work there.
Well, I think too, you guys had a plan B, and if I remember correctly, you had we'll do a presentation or something. You had like a digital alternative
Yeah, I think
to
that was-
releasing the product or something.
That was the intent initially, was to sort of do our own release of NAB things, which would have been coinciding with when NAB would have happened.
Yeah.
But I don't think.
Well, but then
that-
it kept getting weird.
Yeah.
Oh.
It because we did. How long is this going to last?
Oh.
Yeah.
Remember, it was just 2 weeks
Yeah.
for what? 11 weeks now.
Yeah.
12 or 2
Yeah.
months. 3 months?
Like that. 90. We're 90 plus days.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it just kept getting weirder and weirder and weirder, and then what started to happen is we source as much stuff from the United States as we can. That's just part of the DNA of the company.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have tight knit suppliers, and we can control quality that way. There are some things you can only get from Asia. That's just the nature of the way the world is now. But we were good because the supply chains were mostly going down in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
But then as this thing kind of came here, the supply chains here started to dry up too. And and then what we didn't want to do was announce stuff that wasn't ready or close to ready.
Right.
And then the testing agencies just all went offline.
Right.
So those guys, they're not even responding
yeah.
anymore.
Okay,
so,
that makes sense.
So we can go so far with a product internally, but then you can't. Where are you going to get parts?
Right.
Who's going to build the?
Yeah.
We do a lot of. We do the final assembly. And
Well, then,
testing.
too, you'd almost be, like, judged as being tone deaf. You're like, by the way, we're 3 weeks into a whole bunch of people dying, and check out our new product from AJA.
Right.
They're like, dude, people are dying. You're like, yes, but HDMIs and all the Wi-Fis and GBs. Fucking A.
For sure, there's some optics, right?
Right,
For
absolutely.
sure, there's
Absolutely.
For sure, there's optics. But,
Right.
But no, it's been a wild ride. The
Yeah.
entire time I've been doing it. But there is no way I'm going to let this thing go down, man. Not on my watch.
Well,
It ain't
here's the thing.
happening. It ain't happening.
I feel like if you can weather this, you got a fucking vacation
Right.
coming,
Right.
man.
At
You know
some-
what I mean?
at some-
You're a month into Lake Havasu or wherever the fuck you want to go with your boat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, if you guys can stick it out, I mean, even Disney had to pull back their old CEO to be like, fuck it, I can't do it, bitch. They ain't happening. So you stick it out. I mean,
Yeah.
right? These are the crucibles in which the real people that you want leading your companies are, they come out on top. This is these are the type of people you want running the companies in the end.
Right.
If everything goes to shit,
Well,
it's like, well,
what's hard about this, I think, I don't want to speak for you.
No,
but
that's
I'm
okay.
assuming, I mean, you're a new CEO hire, right?
right.
And then the shit just hits
We've
the
got
fan
one.
repeatedly. I mean, you're a sales background,
Yeah.
and you were brought into the CEO position, which I thought was fascinating and a great call. I never saw that coming, but I
He
thought it
doesn't
was
control
awesome.
your bonus, dude.
But no,
Or
I-
does he?
but it's just like it would be a difficult. I mean, for anybody to take
Oh,
that,
yeah.
as even a seasoned CEO, as a new guy can imagine, as a new CEO in that position, how much more difficult like that has to be.
Yeah, it is not easy, right? So
Everything's new, right? I mean, there's net new things that no one's
Right.
ever dealt with
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah, and complications no one's had to deal with, and we had a really incredible run of 3 or 4 years of really great growth, right? So, and I wanted nothing more than to just keep all that going, right?
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
keep
Yeah,
that going,
yeah.
keep going forward, and look, I'm in an insanely lucky position, and got an offer, and I can't read the owner's mind, but.
I always thought you were just going to say I can't read.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was like waiting for it.
fucking impressive, man.
I boat, no
Dude,
read.
You promised you weren't going to rat me out, Jim.
Shit.
But so the other, so speaking of like the other day, a couple days ago, I was having a nightmare while I was sleeping, right? I woke up in a start, and I realized after I'd been awake for a couple minutes that I was better off in the nightmare.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. At least I could have controlled those problems. I can't control any of this
It's
stuff.
nuts.
No, it's been hard, man. It's been
Yeah.
hard. But we,
Okay.
but I think we've done as well as anybody can do, and I think we've done better than most. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm.
That's kind of the impression I've.
As
received.
a non-employee, as far as what it looks like from the outside, I would agree. There's nothing that leads me to believe that there's anything less than what you're saying.
I mean, we did even ship a new thing, so
We did, and it's
awesome.
it's a cool new thing, and there's more things coming, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing the stuff we would have done at the show at just a little bit different pace, right?
Right.
So I love the Lord Foo and Jim. There's like this huge disparity. The key to the whole thing is sincerity, and once you learn to fake that, you got it made.
Yeah. I make those reads.
But it's funny that I was listening. I was at a couple weeks ago. You guys were talking about your titles. You got the Lord Foo.
Oh,
yes.
yes. Oh, yes.
yeah.
Jim.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not Jim J-I-M, it's G-Y-M. And
Right.
there's a
As
story
in
behind
shoe or nasium.
As in gymnasium.
as in
Gymnasium,
Or
yeah.
shoe, I guess.
Okay.
I hadn't thought
There
about
was
that
a guy
one.
named
Jim
Jim
Shoe.
Shoe. When I went to school.
G-Y-M shoe.
There's a smell.
Jim Stanch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, work's been challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, are you spending any time in the office at all?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'll go in once a week,
Okay.
or I think I went in twice.
You have
last
to
week.
check with your manager and make sure they have space for you in time.
Yeah, and that I'm properly spaced out.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so as
That's what I have
as
to
someone
do.
that higher as far as the food chain goes in the company is the adjustment to whatever maybe as far as like doing your job duty but remote. Has it been? So there's an interesting perspective here. As someone that's lower rungs like us, it's like, well, how do I do my job but remote? I have a tactile function. But as someone that's making connections and making decisions, has your job been increased or decreased in difficulty, not necessarily being able to go to the office?
It's harder.
Really?
So I'm used to working remote, right? As the VP of sales, that was a global job, right?
Right,
So
okay.
And he lived in Los
And
Angeles.
I lived in L.A.
Okay.
So I've worked here and lived in L.A. for since 2011. So I'm used to working remote. What you miss is the dynamic of when you get a team together and you're trying to figure something out. It's just not the same. You can't see inflection, and you don't get tone, and
Right.
you got people that you jump in at awkward moments on a Zoom call, and it's harder to collaborate. You can still do it,
Right.
Yeah.
but there's a dynamic that you don't have when you're not live together trying to hammer out problems.
Yeah.
You just
And I would
get
say
when you're
especially too if your work environment wasn't already in some way used to that. Existing telecommuters that may be already comfortable with that engagement
Yeah.
probably are like, slightly less of a learning curve. But someone that needs to read the room, read intonations, the cadence of how people are jumping into a conversation, and all of a sudden now all of those things as far as how I help shepherd a conversation or problem solving is all reliant on. Okay, that's what I do.
there is some of that, right? Like,
Billy has left the chat.
Well, especially because up there, like half the people have shit internet up there.
it's
You know what I
terrible.
mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
And we have some people that just come in with audio because there's no way they could ever do any video.
they got nothing, man.
Yeah. No,
They're giving you like a frame every 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, 1 out of 60 frames you get out of.
You get a frozen, and I said either their video just went down or they're literally holding still to like make it look like they went down, so they could be like, I'm not in the office.
Watching the Japanese Godzilla videos.
Yeah.
Oi,
Now,
Godzilla,
now, right.
you.
Now the flip side to that is you can actually do it. Oh, this
Yeah.
stuff actually works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Microsoft Teams works pretty well.
Yeah.
Zoom works pretty well. Like these tools actually work.
Yeah.
And most people can figure them out, right? So you don't get that, I can't get online or I can't figure it out. like even the most Luddites of the group can figure out a way to get into a meeting and work and
Yeah.
get it done.
Well, I will say, even from an engineering standpoint, there's only been a handful of, like, oh, if we were all in the office, this would be no big deal. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to problem solve between multiple systems, like
Sure.
with people, and trying to figure out an issue. It's a lot easier when everybody's in a building. Then you can go to different cubes and say, what are you seeing, and what are you seeing? And, you know, it's really hard to do that when you're in a remote situation. There's only, like I said, we've only had a couple of times where we're in one of our teams calls and been like, oh, this would be a lot easier if we were all in the same building together.
Well, and two, right? We're talking, what did we say, 90 days? I mean, these types
this
of...
is going on.
these types of learning curves are so condensed.
Yes.
You know, it's. I'm actually encouraged by some companies that have been able to make the adjustment as fast as they have, and so knowing. And that's what sort of makes it difficult in the other end, is that there are companies that have no history of these types of like engagements, and yet they've made the leap, they've made the gap, they've filled it as best they can. And so you hear some of these like heel draggers that are like, it's too hard, this isn't how my company works, you know, I can't support my employees this way, you know, I don't really support my guys, can't do their job telecommuting, I can't entertain this thought at all, it's just too hard. It's like, well, this company didn't do it either, and they're doing okay as best as they can.
There's no room for complaining, or you just got to suck it up and figure it out.
Yeah.
I want to say that Teams, for us, Teams got rolled out like instantaneously. We weren't even using Teams, and it was like the shit was hitting the fan, and like IT was like, well, we're making Teams available because it looks like we're going to need it. Yep. And sure enough, we needed it. And it's been great. It's worked very well. So, I mean, I have no complaints about it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I've got massive support and infrastructure and great people and great engine. So I've got all the tools to succeed, right? So it's kind of up to me to not screw it up.
Yeah.
And our IT guys have
fair
done an
enough.
awesome job. You're an IT guy, right?
Yeah.
Is it like a bank or something?
Yeah,
All
Wells
right,
Fargo.
all right. Oh, okay, all right. You're an IT. So, you know, that can be daunting, man. Trying to keep 100, 200, I don't know, people online and from stepping on themselves, and you know, how many password phone calls do you take a week? Right?
Yeah.
We've actually gotten through most of that, and it works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
I think
that's fascinating stuff.
I think Zoom works a little better than Teams with multiple cameras and people. I think Teams falls down at about 5 cameras, where Zoom seems like they've got a better compression scheme, or they got some secret sauce that Microsoft doesn't have.
It was interesting too. Is the kids are all using, as far as like schoolwork and whatnot, use the Google Classroom, but they were using Zoom as far as like the teachers and the students, but yet Google has, damn it, they have a platform. I don't know. I've drawn a blank on whatever it is, and they made it free too. It was an enterprise product, and they went. But it was like a week to 2 weeks, a little bit too late.
It took them a while.
It was like too long for them to like unload the enterprise license, basically go free to everyone that needs it.
Too late.
But it was too late.
It was too late. You're right. They
And
missed
I
the
haven't seen anyone that uses it to know whether or not it's good enough in large mass.
I ran across an interesting YouTube video the other day that was like, what happened to Skype? Right? They were the de facto standard in voice and video chat for years. And didn't Microsoft buy them?
That's that's where Teams came from.
I think so.
Yeah.
But the whole Skype thing, like, it's non-existent. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it's been rolled in, but
I still use Skype to talk to the guys in England for whatever reason. We kind of standardized on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
that's what we would, and I would talk to the guys in Asia on Skype, right? And we'd look at each other and that whole deal. But that kind of became well. You look at the guy and you're like, you're going to deliver that number, right? You know, I heard a number, and that's what you're going to.
Oh,
you've made a commitment, right? When you can look a guy in the eye, it's a lot harder for him to weasel out than if you just talk on the phone.
Right.
I didn't hear you. But but you're right. Those tools were. It was, I guess, kind of like MySpace, right? Like, whoop, where'd they go?
Yeah,
those tools kind of vanished, right?
Is MySpace even still around?
I don't know, man.
I mean, because MySpace originally started out as like a place for bands and stuff.
Oh, really?
And then it was like everybody just sort of like glommed onto it as like one of the first social media networks. And then it got fucking weird, man. And then Facebook came out, and everyone's like, "Fuck MySpace! I'm going to Facebook."
Fongu.
Yeah. Basically, that was interesting transitions you see over time on stuff like that.
Now we hate fuck Facebook.
You know, I used to use Facebook a ton, like a shitload. I did these daily pictures called "What the Fucks," WTFs.
Yeah.
And I found these pictures, and I'd post them like, "What the fuck, number 649?" You know what I mean?
Sure.
And people would
Like a meme.
I would get friend requests from people I didn't know just because they'd heard about the WTFs, and I used to do this all the time. And then it just kind of like I think what happened was, I don't know, I might have friended somebody that wasn't happy with me from a previous job. It was a guy that I ended up having to fire, but we ended up being friends on Facebook.
Might get a little weird.
Yeah, and shortly after I friended that guy, I think what he did is he didn't like my pictures, and so he reported them, and then I was suddenly getting, you're unable to post any pictures for the next 2 weeks, and I'm like, God damn it.
Oh.
So that
guy 9-holed you. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for me, like, Facebook was like, screw you guys then.
Yeah, friend
you
face,
don't
you
me.
face, all that stuff. I just don't. It was fun for the first year, and then I couldn't stop. Like when you said you saw those pictures there, I haven't posted anything in a couple of years on that.
Oh, I noticed.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I 2014. I think was your last post.
Like
it was a long time ago.
Not a social media.
It even still says you work at Autodesk. I think.
No,
I'm
I think I changed.
No,
it
it was VP. You were VP of sales.
Ouch! Shit.
Zing.
Like,
Zing.
No, I'm just joking. But
we got you, motherfucker.
yeah. Anyway.
So hang on. All right. So I've listened to you guys for like a year and a half, right? I listen to you guys when I drive mostly. All right. So,
okay.
So I should know these things, and I've picked them up, right? So like, how old are you, Lord Foo?
I'm 44.
You're 44. All right. So you're just about 10 years younger than I am. All right. So how many kids do you got?
I have 2.
It's Piper.
Piper and Xander.
And who's Venus?
Venus is my wife.
Venus is your wife. Our Piper and Xander. Okay, all right.
Yes.
So, and Jim, how old are you?
48.
Okay, all right. So, God, I'm the oldest guy. Oh, that sucks.
Well, I'll be 49 next week.
You're catching up, but I don't think you'll. All right, and so how many kids?
2 kids. Chandler is my oldest. Data's, if you listen to the show, that's Chandler, and then my daughter Melanie.
And your wife is Shannon.
Shannon.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm curious, right? So I've listened to. And I got to talk about this whole thing because I just moved up here and now I got a real yard I got to deal with.
Okay.
Listen to the yard work
Yes.
episodes. Like a yard was just this thing that a few guys a week showed up. A few guys showed up for 20 minutes and dealt with it. Now I actually got like real work to. So I'm curious, you guys, where'd you pick up your dad skills? Where'd you get them from?
My dad.
From your dad?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Because so we started out. I was born in Torrance. So
okay, so you're SoCal. That was the other question.
SoCal.
Where'd you grow up?
So I up till probably 5th grade, 6th grade, lived in SoCal.
Okay.
Halldale Elementary. So West 13th Street, Torrance, California.
Shout out.
Yeah, right next to Compton's. Shit. Wow, that went sideways. But then we came up here. Because my dad had a job opportunity, and we bought 10 acres, and so everything went from concrete to dirt.
So you became a country boy.
Yeah,
so to speak. Okay.
Became a country boy. So
when I met him, he was sucking on some wheat,
the
Jimson
wheat
and
a straw hat.
Jimson wheat.
And he'd be spitting in a can.
As soon as I was
mullet, no mullet.
Yeah,
oh,
no
mullet.
mullet. Oh
Yeah.
God, no!
Always
the ducktail.
Leonard Skinner. I tried to grow a mullet once. It was terrible. I looked like a pharaoh. It just went like that. It was terrible. Anyway, sorry,
I'm trying to imagine this right
Dude,
now.
it was terrible.
Yeah. So my it all came from my dad because a lot of the stuff, as far as there was just stuff to do. I think it would have been different if I'd been in a city. So there was just a lot more things I spent more time with my dad because when you're at a distance from other people instead of having a neighbor within a football throw, for me, it was like my dad was my best friend. So, while that was an extra relationship, but there was like chores, and so there was things to do. So the mowing the lawns, the feeding of the animals, like all of those little knickknacks, and like what seems like I wasn't paying attention, wax on, wax off, Mr. Miyagi shit.
No, dude, there's real knowledge to all
absolutely,
that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Like, there's
and
ways to do things.
And I
right?
think that's probably the first time I've ever really thought about that as there are annoyances as a young man. It's like these are fucking annoyances. But,
I got other shit
but
to do.
as that question, as far as me answering it, those things all come from my dad. And as I got closer to high school, my dad became a single parent. So it was the reliance of where my character comes from and the things as far as how I want to bring up my kids really come as almost 95% from my dad.
From dad, okay.
From dad.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of guys get their dads. Because some guys, I have older brothers, and some families are split up. I know guys that said my mom was the best dad ever. Right?
And
so
I think it's just like a circumstance thing.
Yeah.
And I'll give, as I became older, and Venus was like a high school sweetheart, and so I've been with her since the get-go. So I am fortunate and lucky that as I evolved out of the relationship with my dad to have a wife and partner that saw.
Very cool.
We mesh, so the traits that I want to instill in the kids are the same.
Awesome.
We may differ on delivery, but it's the same. Now, if I could get the core values are there, and if I could get everyone to do a little bit more yard work, that would be ideal.
Right.
I'm working on that one, but that's an awesome question. So that would be mine.
Well, because I always wonder, like, hey, where'd this guy learn to do this, right? Because my wife just completely tiled a bathroom, cut the tile, laid it out.
Nice.
But like, where did you learn to? Like, I couldn't do that.
A lot of those things, and I think stuff like that too.
Do that.
Is because being in country, a lot of that stuff was like, there's no phone and a contract comes out. It was like, I have to replace the water heater.
Sure.
It's right there. Dad goes to get the water heater, and we're wrenching on it because I'm the second set of hands.
Right.
Wiring Romex or something in the house for a new addition. If the walls are open,
sure.
Dad needs an extra set of hands. I'm the extra
and so
set
by
of hands.
osmosis,
yes,
you pick up
it's just
the
like
skill.
the little things.
So how about you, Jim? Where'd you get the dad skill? Where'd the dad skills come
Well,
from?
I like mowing and stuff. Like I remember just having to mow, mowing at the house.
And what age did
growing
that?
up.
Because I remember specifically when that started for me and the line I got from the parents.
I want to say it was probably junior high time. Like around the time when we got grass in the yard, like when we moved to Sacramento in 81. And I want to say that was like in 5th grade for me. So it was sometime after that, probably 6th, 7th grade. And I was mowing with like nowadays you got a circular mower with a blade that spins around like this. This was one of the mowers.
It's a reel mower. It's called a reel mower.
Well, yeah, and it throws into a metal bin in front of it, and it was self-propelled from a like giant rubber wheel in the back that would drop down, and that thing would take off on you. That's how I learned how to mow.
Cool.
Jesus,
so it was
because it was a third of an acre, and the yards were pretty good size, and so that bin would take a lot of grass. So you're cutting a lot of yards, so you could run that thing. Whereas like a traditional like Toro or a Honda mower or something, they would probably just fill up pretty quick, and you'd be running back and forth emptying the bag. So that's how I learned to mow, is in this like kind of industrial strength mower. And like edging, and my parents had like a reel edger where you fired it up and the blade just spun and you just dropped it down and edged. I don't have one of those, but I mean, I know how to edge. I remember moving into my house and like taking care of the front yard, and my next door neighbor, the wife, came over and she's like, how did you get the grass to stand up like that on the edge? And I'm like,
use an edger.
You edge it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's like, what? I mean, it was totally lost on her. So I taught her how to edge her yard. Sure. But and then like, I don't know if you saw me, I brought this up when I came back, when I got here today, and when you pulled up and I pulled this thing out of my car, and that's Jason's tile saw.
I did
with the towel on it. So
okay.
over the last several weekends, we've been putting in
Right, I've been hearing
pavers.
about this
the
project,
paver,
yeah.
and I had to cut pavers to meet the other side because it didn't all line up. So I had
Does
to.
it ever?
Yeah.
No.
Of course,
Never.
Absolutely not.
Of course not. Yeah.
No, but that was half the fun. It was like, okay, you got a tile saw, sweet, and now I'm cutting masonry tiles or pavers in my backyard with his tile saw, and it looks gorgeous. It came out really
Awesome.
good.
Very cool.
So I mean, you just and I've tiled a bathroom floor and that kind of stuff. It's just like I'd never done that before. I'm just gonna figure it out. I just figure it out.
And you can really, like, if you don't so much care about how things line up, like, with tile work, a lot of people get crazy about how things line up. Right?
Yeah.
You can actually, if you don't care so much about that, you can actually get a lot of work done. So, but
Yeah.
was it Dad?
I mean,
Where did the
all that
the
stuff
knowledge
is
transfer,
just like just figuring it out. Literally, just kind of figuring it out. Like I'm not gonna pay someone
You're
to do
a
this.
deep end guy. How about is
A
that?
deep
I
end?
think
just
it-
jumping in?
Yeah, you
jumping
just
in.
Yeah, well, I look at it and go, oh, that's not
I'm
that
not
hard.
gonna pay you for that.
Yeah, I don't want to pay someone to do
Pay you
it.
for that.
I
You
can
gotta
do
be
this
nuts.
myself. You know what I mean? And then typically for me, I do some research. I'll, a lot of YouTube videos, especially
Sure, no,
nowadays.
that's amazing.
And just kind of go, okay. Like I'd never done a paver patio. You know what I
Sure.
mean?
Yeah, knowing used to be so much more valuable than it is now.
Right.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because now you can go learn just about anything with video step-by-step instructions. Like,
Right.
knowing
Yeah.
prior. But okay, so
Sorry,
you just started doing
I just
it then.
start doing stuff. I
Okay.
just try to. And now, are you saying that you're struggling with this kind of thing, or
No, so it's not that I'm struggling. It's that I had a bunch of different father figures. Right?
Okay.
And I learned different things from each one. My parents they split when I was young,
Yep.
and so I had my grandparents on my mom's side worked at a steel mill in Gary, Indiana.
Oh.
And had a 10-acre, like a hobby farm.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a hobby farm, but just a little plot of land. And my grandparents on my dad's side had a 1,000-acre farm.
Oh wow.
And
Oh,
he sold.
yeah.
He was
That's
an
a big one.
Oldsmobile dealer and sold tractors.
Nice.
So I had these two pieces, and when my parents split up, right? So I kept, of course, the family. I kept those pieces, but my mom had like 4 or 5 long-term relationships with guys that kind of made sure that it was cool to bring 2 kids along, and they became father figures, and I learned business traits from one guy and different mechanical things, and I learned different things from my dad than from my grandpa. So and as I get here and I come back out of the city and I come to a country environment, and I've got an acre and a half, and which is 3 distinct types of lawns to mow in the one place.
Yeah.
And doing this work, I go back and I go, I wish I would have taken more time to learn more from those guys when I had the opportunity. But I wasn't really, wasn't into drywalling and stuff like that.
It's interesting because I'm starting to get this thing with, and we may have talked about it off air, that your last couple lines there. My dad was down here over the weekend to take the truck. He needed a new lawn tractor because he shot his other one to shit.
We're going to talk about that too, because I need one.
He was, and I was asking him. I'm like, because he's 70. He just hit 70, so he was the age bracket where most have impacted as
most
far
of-
as
high risk.
COVID.
High risk.
So, I'm busting his balls by making sure he was wearing his mask and whatnot. And he was just like, I'm not fucking around. Like, I don't want any part of this. He's like, I'm taking it safe, and of lately, it's just been one of these moments where I'm starting to get to the age where I realize the amount of stuff that I haven't yet absorbed from father figures. I'm like, I'm not done yet. Like, I still need more stuff from you. And it feels very selfish, but at the same time, there's like this realization that I may have missed some things in being arrogant or stupid or just too busy doing something else, being a young man, which is fine, right? It happens. That's just life.
Figuring shit out.
But now I'm in this space, and I was just also talking to my brother when we went to go pick up his TV. He's like, I'm running into these things. He's also a dad of twins, he's like, I'm running into these things where like I don't know the answer as a dad. I don't know the answer to some of the questions my kids come to me with. It's like, how did Dad have those answers? Yeah. And he goes, so it's like an open thing, and I go, I just don't think he did, but he told us what we wanted to hear at the time,
and it was magic,
and it made sense.
Magic, yeah,
and so it was like there's a comfort in an answer, and so you just kind of just run with it. Those moments where you don't necessarily feel like you have to pick to get at, like, what's at the bottom of this? What's at the bottom of the well? I need to know what's at the bottom. You're young. You just move past it. You're like, I'm not thirsty anymore. I'm done. I'm at that age where I'm starting to realize I'm not ready for that stuff to start being untappable to me, because I still have a shitload of questions and stuff that I'm not ready to hit yet, but he probably knows, and if I don't ask, I'm going to miss an opportunity. And you wouldn't hit that if I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I'm experiencing is shame. It's like,
yeah.
Hey,
just stop masturbating.
Well, there's that.
Sorry.
There's that.
What Zoom call is this? Fuck, whoops.
It's like, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah. I don't know. Can you help me with this?
Just hand me the Vaseline jar. It's cool.
God damn.
Yeah. So is...
I'm so fired.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, Jim.
Taking it to where no one wants to go.
Yeah. God damn.
No, it's all good. But around me, I see this stuff go down, right? And I don't want to just hire everybody to do anything. I like to learn stuff, and taking care of a pool, like you got to learn that. Taking care of a yard, building a gate. How about a shed?
I got to do that.
Can you
soon.
frame a shed? Can you Can you frame a shed and plumb a door and have it be square, plumb, and true?
Yeah.
Oh, I can get something together. Okay.
Yeah.
It might be Willy Wonka's fucking chocolate factory, but
oftentimes, like
it's just
a lot of times, like the case with the tile saw, I've been afforded a great opportunity with as far as what I made when I made it, as far as salary, and so a lot of the instances where he's run into where he's like, well, I'm just going to throw myself at it. I don't know the answer to putting hinges, hanging a door. I've never done that. But I can watch a thing now. Technology affords us an opportunity, like YouTube, how to hang a door.
Sure.
And you're going to get a couple things. So I would go out and buy a jig and then a router. And so I've acquired these tools, being fortunate enough with money. And so I have a shitload of tools running into exactly these instances that he's talked about and you're talking about. It's like, I would like to give it a shot. I would give it a college try. I've never done this. I'm uncomfortable in doing it. But monetarily, I can afford the tool. I'm going to try it.
Right.
I can tell you right now that some of the doors don't shut square. But the third one... fucking is awesome.
Nailed it.
Tits. Is tits. And I have all these tools. So I'll get hangouts. I'll get hangouts from like the guys in random places like, hey, does anyone have this tool? And it's like I'm literally like the tool guy.
Yeah.
I've
got that.
Maybe. I think I've got one of those fucking things laying around. So I'm the same way, and I think a lot of that comes from one, I think we're still young enough, regardless of the age disparity, we're still young enough that the technology and our ability to tap repositories of how to find an answer for something.
Oh, it's magic.
Yeah.
Like growing up, there was no. You had what was in your room, and you had the library.
Someone had to pass you that.
When
knowledge.
we were talking, I was just talking about this
nothing.
with Piper and Venus. We were talking about the ability to find answers to questions on the instant. Like Venus had a computer before I did, and to find but not necessarily internet. So it was Encyclopedia Britannica on the CD. And so I went from having to run down and borrow encyclopedias to write reports from a neighbor, and come back to then being in freshman, sophomore high school, where someone in the neighborhood ish relative to the country had a computer with an Encyclopedia Britannica to run down and like type something in and, whoa, fuck, you guys got printers? And then like print something out and then run it back up to the hill to do a report. To now it's my son has at least 2 different devices in his room where he can and if you go in there, he's probably double dipping. He's probably playing a Switch or some game while ingesting YouTube cooking videos through the other ear. I mean, absolutely, like the ability for input is incomprehensible to us being younger.
Yeah.
So you guys talked about this, and I can't recall. All right. So what was your first computer, and then what was your first computer you could use?
I know mine.
You kind of went.
Goodness.
My first computer was a Timex Sinclair 1000. Yeah.
Okay.
That was a piece of shit. It even had the extra RAM module on it.
The block that connected. I remember that thing.
When you touch the Timex
keyboard.
Once you touched it just wrong, that thing would wiggle, and then you'd lose all your fucking programming. That shit pissed me the fuck off.
Your 40-line program that counted to 10 or something. Yeah.
And then after that, I think my first real computer. There was an Atari 800 XL.
Oh, Star Raiders, bro.
I love that computer.
Raiders, yeah.
And then after that, we had an Apple IIe that I used in high school.
Okay.
That was probably the first real usable computer was the IIe.
Got it.
That's what got me into the Mac shit was working from the Apple IIe. And then I had a grandmother who lived in this complex, and her neighbor across the street had a Mac. And that just blew my fucking mind.
Sure, the ability to drag and drop and point and click.
It was, it just blew my mind.
PR number 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what really got me. It was like, I remember going, you know Ted.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to my buddy Ted's house. This is in high school. And I remember he had a PC, Windows probably 3.1 or even earlier. I don't even know what it was. But I remember he's typing shit in the command line to like open files and like directory bullshit, and I'm just like, what is this arcane bullshit? Have you not seen a Mac?
Right.
Have you not seen a fucking Mac, dude? What is this bullshit?
Yeah.
Not knowing a lot about, well, there's way more software for them and that kind of shit.
You're right,
but,
the guy's got 900 games on the shelf, and you can
exactly.
Exactly. But you can open it quick.
Yeah.
I could. It was all visual. That's like how I perceived and learned.
Sure.
Was everything was very visual. So sitting there and typing command line shit was just like. It was just like fucking wrong.
Oh, it's a throwback.
Yeah,
What
like
is this?
we have all this technology, and you're typing command lines at the prompt. Like what is?
Catalog and DIR.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, I remember all that.
Yeah. So
And you?
So
sorry for the
No. We had some like Commodore thing, but it was
like a VIC 20.
Yeah,
or 64?
it was no
or an Amiga. The Amiga
64.
Was cool. Okay,
but it was something
Amiga
that
was
was
cool.
like beyond me, as I was too young to like really comprehend at the time. Like it was nothing, and I didn't have my own computer well through probably being that would be 94 senior in high school, because it was just something that we couldn't afford. So I would have to run and use someone else's.
The friend's computer.
Yeah.
Right? We all had a friend that had a bunch of programs.
It wasn't probably until
the
98.
disk drive and the AMDEC monitor and 80-column card.
Yeah. I got a job working at the computer store in Auburn, and I built my first one. I think it was like a 486 DX2 66, like an
machine.
Intel.
Dude, that would run Doom.
Yeah. Yes.
That was the thing.
Yes.
That would run Doom.
Yes. Doom and Carmageddon and fucking Duke Nukem 2.
Yeah.
Or Duke Nukem 1. I don't remember. Anyway, but he cussed, and it was awesome.
One came before 2, I think.
Yeah.
But
it was a way. So mine was Intel, but it wasn't until I was out of high school, because it was just something that I had to buy on my own.
What about you? What was your?
So the early ones were borrowed, and there was a Timex Sinclair and a Commodore VIC 20 and a Trash 80 in there. But the one that I could actually use and do things with was an Apple II.
Okay. Yeah.
Apple II Plus, I think it was.
Oh, the Plus.
And
okay.
I had the 2 drives, and I had a color monitor. And
the Duo disc.
And I had a crack shot board.
I don't know what that is.
I could copy games into RAM and then write them back to the drive.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And what were the copy?
Pirater.
Locksmith, Pirate's Friend, and Locksmith, right?
Wow.
And we would trade programs and swap games and stuff like that.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. No,
I had
go way
consoles
back.
before I had a computer.
Like
like
what?
a Genesis and a Nintendo before we could afford a computer.
Well, I remember our first console was a Pong system.
Well, but so that was hardwired though, right? That had like a switch that had 4 games, and they were all the same version of Pong.
Yes.
Right.
Well, you could play like I think you could play like 4 players or 2 players or up against the computer.
Right, but it was all
kind of thing.
some variant of Pong.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I had a Fairchild Channel F, which is, from what I know, from what I can tell, was the first cartridge video game.
Oh, okay. So even before the 2600.
Even way, but probably 2 years before the 2600.
Oh, okay, that's early.
And then the 2600 came out and put all the other ones out of business.
Yeah.
But then the Intellivision came out, and that was really cool too.
My neighbor had an Intellivision,
really cool.
and I remember that blowing my fucking mind.
Intellivision put the Atari
Those,
down.
I will say this: their controllers sucked donkey shit.
Dude.
But you had that weird little plastic piece that fit in over the membrane,
Yep.
and then you had the little disc. And
Yep.
I remember my thumb just being dead after playing any
brutal.
game with him.
Terrible UI.
Oh, totally.
But you had a little keyboard in each one.
The graphics were insane, though.
They were way ahead of their time. And then so I got another device called a Vectrex, and it was a cartridge-based game, but it came with its own monitor. And
That's all the cool shit.
So do you remember Asteroids was a vector scan monitor? It wasn't a raster scan monitor like a TV, which is why they could draw all those lines the way they did. And this had it was a vector scan device.
Oh, okay.
And it had stereo sound and
Wow.
and 3D goggles.
What?
With a mechanical rotating shutter. Right?
Wow.
And I remember I like dropped it and bent it, and I could hear it rub against the thing after a while. But it was actually pretty cool. So I was lucky enough to be able to get all these things early in the day, and I just consumed all that stuff, like to whatever extent I could. I just
Now
ate all that
those
up.
shits are like historical cars. Like people are restoring those, and
Yeah.
Well,
it's crazy.
Are you a gamer now? Do you play any?
I haven't gamed in a while because I inherited teenagers with my second wife.
Yeah.
And that's all they did.
Okay.
And
It turned you off.
I couldn't play with them. They were so good at everything.
Oh,
I couldn't play
yeah,
with them.
that's really hard.
So I just kind of enjoyed watching them go through it. And then when they would go through like adventure games, we would work on a problem together, and then they would physically run it. But like my favorite arcade game of all time, and I could roll the machine. Still to this day, I think one of the hardest video games was Defender.
Oh yeah.
And I could roll a Defender machine. That must have cost me $6,000 in quarters. It took forever.
1 quarter at a time.
Brutal, dude. It took forever to get good at that game. And at one point, I had one in the house.
Okay.
And I'm like,
a full stand-up one?
Yeah, I'm like, all right, you
Oh,
punk
that's-
asses, let me see you guys do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
That's
This
awesome.
is nobody. I can't do this. It's impossible. Right,
I mean, I'm not a huge gamer, but over COVID-19, we ended up buying a Nintendo Switch.
Right, which is the little portable thing.
Oh
right?
my
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
that
you were telling
system!
me you could save to the cloud with it and say, yeah, you were
That
super
system
impressed.
is totally impressive. Everybody in the family's using. We have 2 of them in the house. Actually, 3. My son bought 2, and I bought 1. So everyone's using them. My daughter and my wife are playing Animal Crossing. And
Is that
I've been playing it too.
Frogger or something?
No, it's
Yeah.
it sounds like
It's like
that,
a
but
sim.
it's like a sim, but you are on an island and you start by living in a tent, and you basically build. It's almost like a sim, like he's
It's like
talking
a
about.
turn-based sim type
It's
thing.
not even turn-based. You just run around and fish and take and sell the stuff and make bells is the money system.
Okay, all
You
right.
make bells and then you use the bells to buy stuff, and you just constantly are upgrading your and people move in your island. There's a bunch of like AI with all the other like little islanders that live in there, and you become friends, and you like.
Steal their money and
No, you don't do any of that. It's
knock 'em
all-
over.
It's,
Yeah,
it's
burn their
Nintendo,
village
right?
down.
It's Nintendo
Oh, yeah,
game.
so all that stuff
So
is
it's
involved,
very
yeah.
much happy-go-lucky.
Okay.
I caught a butterfly. I play it too. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
So
actually
how many
fun.
hours you got into this, Jim?
Oh shit.
Oh, probably 45 easy.
Oh, really awesome.
I could check on my phone after we get off, but yeah, it's probably 45. easily. And my wife, I think, she's in the couple
But
hundreds now.
what a cool thing, right? Like the whole
Yeah.
family can
Yeah.
enjoy it. Like that, that's a panacea of like what I always wished it worked out like when I was a kid, that like mom and dad would get into it. And,
I mean,
that was never.
I'm not a huge gamer, but I've been playing that. And then the other ones are the Lego games. I just fucking love playing those silly Lego games. They're just goofy and fun, and
I guess I was sick that day. What?
they're okay. There's one called Lego.
Well, they do all the genres. There's Lego Batman, Lego Marvel, Lego.
Yeah, I have the Lego Marvel.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
What's the game? What do you do in the game?
You're a Lego character, and there's like
the
challenges
minifigs,
and-
the little, like the Lego sets. You're almost playing as like the little
as a
little
Lego
minifig
character.
guy in
Yeah.
a game environment that looks like a Lego set.
Let me.
So are you going
there's
through
one.
mazes and stuff? Is it a timing game, a physical game where you gotta
Some of it.
jump and run and
Yeah.
grab a
Yeah.
swing and
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah,
okay.
all of the
Oh,
above.
Okay, all right.
There's they're very well detailed. The one of the games that I play a lot that I'm hell bent on finishing is Lego City Undercover. And you're a police officer, and then you collect these characters that are undercover versions of you that all do different shit. But you have to collect these over time, like doing and playing all the things, and you have to go back through after you collect those guys, because there's things in when you first go through them that you can't do initially because you don't have the dudes yet.
Got it.
And then the game is totally open world. It's like a GTA. You ever played GTA, Grand Theft Auto?
I've watched it.
It's
played a
like
lot, yeah.
GTA but Lego. There's cars and you can steal cars, and you look for hidden shit all over the city. It's crazy.
So one of the things that happen, and I think this happens when play becomes work. I spent a lot of time at Autodesk,
Yeah.
and that gig, it started out in basically the effects business with products called Flame, and
Yeah.
Inferno, and Smoke and Fire, and those products started out costing $750,000
Right.
per unit, and we were
Super high end.
super high end.
Yeah,
Back in the
compositing
day,
and-
yeah, it was a compositing system. It
Yeah.
ran on a Silicon Graphics Onyx
Yeah.
supercomputer.
Yeah.
Right. So the supercomputer, the
So
computer.
you weren't just buying software; you were also buying the hardware.
We would. It started out. We would sell the whole system.
Yeah. So like a Media 100 back in the day, where you had to buy the whole entire enchilada.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Avid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And I had one of those, and
Yeah.
I had a business where I rented them. At one point, I had 10 of them.
Yeah.
And
Those were expensive.
Yeah, they were a lot of money.
Yeah.
But then the company was acquired by Autodesk,
Mm-hmm.
and it became a media division, and part of that media division was working with the 3D modeling software, 3D Studio Max,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
we
yeah.
acquired Alias, which was the Maya product.
Oh,
yeah.
And
yeah.
then soft image, right? So at one point we had that entire portfolio. So what that job became was visual effects, editing, and gaming.
Oh, okay.
Selling to game companies. And selling 3D software seats to game companies, right? That's a job, right? So
Yeah.
so games became
Work. Yeah.
right?
Lost their luster a
It
bit.
lost its luster. And the last thing I wanted to do was look at some title of a game of some dude that had pissed me off. And,
Well, I get that. I mean, for us, it's sort of been just the saving grace, because I've got my daughter who goes to Fullerton. She's home because
everybody's home.
Yeah,
she's
Everybody's home.
she's an at-risk person. All the classes went online. It was where she lives is like this whole apartment complex full of students. It's not an on-campus thing. It's an off-campus apartment complex, and it's literally they cater to students. And it is 5 stories of students. And do you want to be around 5 stories of students when there's a pandemic hitting? No.
No.
So she's home. My son has moved home. So everybody's home. And people are bouncing off the walls because we're telling them you
what are we
can't
gonna do?
leave.
Yeah, sure.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, all right. Well, let's go get a Switch. And we happen to
Fire
get
it up.
lucky
Fire it up.
because they're super in demand.
Yeah.
We got lucky and found a couple, actually. So it's been sort of the saving grace of like, oh, it's something that everybody's excited about. Everyone's happy to be doing it. I totally get where fun and work intersect,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and work usually wins
Yeah,
out, and it becomes
yeah.
no more fun.
Yeah, no, that's
I
the
get
last
that.
thing I wanted to do. And even to some extent, television and movies.
Yeah.
Right? You go to a movie and you're like, okay, I can see that matte line right there. And I remember that guy. I got a phone call from that guy when he was having a problem working on that shot. And so to some extent, like television, so to some extent, it all became that, right?
Yeah.
And even today.
Yeah.
It's like, that was lousy. You know, someone said, oh, yeah, that came from that effects house. They do a lousy job.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah. Well, Dave, we only run
Dave's
so much.
camera ran out.
Oh, did it? Oh, damn. We can only roll so much time, and
are we out already?
Yeah.
You're kidding me. We've blown through an hour.
Hour and 20 minutes.
You're kidding me.
No.
Right?
I didn't even get a chance to talk about the stuff I wanted to talk about.
Well, let's put it this way.
That's how the campfire works, dude. It
Yes.
is so nuts.
We do this
an hour and a half.
That's why you hear us all the time be like, it's already over.
Yeah.
So, but here's the good news: is you're welcome to come back anytime.
Anytime.
We are more than happy to have
wasn't
you.
that entertaining, bro.
Dude,
Yeah.
you have no idea. This is exciting for us.
Here's how this works. 90% of this is us having a good time.
Yeah.
So if you had a good time and we had a good time, it's almost therapeutic at this point. We're not making any fucking money. So really, it's about us.
We make money.
Us blowing
Yeah,
off
no.
steam and fucking having a good time and chit chatting.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, let's put it this way: if you come again, it'll be less us drilling you on shit and more just bullshit, and that's fun. That's the fun
I
part.
had some cool stuff to talk about.
Well, then there's a reason
See?
to come back.
You have a reason to come
I
back.
had some cool stuff. All right. Okay,
All right,
well,
you're
awesome.
just gonna. I mean, I'll give you gas money if we have to go down.
Yeah,
there.
Jesus.
Fill out an expense report.
I'll put a kiddie pool out here, and we'll say, "Bring the boat and drop it in."
Well, guys, honestly, thanks for all the fun. I've had a ton of fun. Thanks for the entertainment. Thanks for the laughs.
Well, thank
I really
you for
appreciate
coming.
it. Thanks for the invite, man. It's been great.
We're happy to hear it.
Awesome, man.
Well,
Thanks.
you brought this on because you were like, I'd love to come hang out. I'm like, fucking A, that's it. You're coming down. You said it, man. You're on the hook now. Awesome. All right. Well, we got to say goodnight. And again, thanks, Dave, for coming down.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate
Lord Fu and Jim, Burger Chef and Jeff.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Take it easy, guys, and have a good week.
We'll catch you next week.
Bye.